The sensor sweep showed nothing but cold metal and silence. That should have been the first warning. Crever Hallex gripped the control yoke of his salvage pod as the massive shape materialized through the debris field. The human battleship hung in the void like a monument to a war that ended 3 centuries ago. Its hull stretched 2 kilometers from bow to stern, gray and scarred, decorated with impact craters from weapons that no longer existed. Every window was dark. Every antenna was still. According to every scan his team had run for the past 6 hours, the vessel was a corpse. Approaching final coordinates, Torin Besh announced from the science pod. His voice crackled over the comm system, distorted by the electromagnetic interference that choked this region of space. The hull breach is confirmed on the port side, Section 7. We should have clear entry. Crever adjusted his flight path, bringing his pod alongside the mammoth warship. His species, the Velani, had fought against humanity during the last Great War. He had been young then, barely mature enough to understand what the conflict meant. Now he made his living picking through the graveyards that war had left behind. There was good salvage in human wrecks. Their technology was crude by modern standards, but their military-grade materials were worth a fortune to the right buyers. Are we certain this vessel is inactive? Melza Quinn asked from the third pod. She was younger than both Crever and Torin, her first deep salvage operation. Her nervousness bled through every transmission. The power readings seem unusual. Torin made a dismissive sound. There are no power readings. What you are detecting is residual radiation from the reactor core. Human ships used fission drives. The half-life means trace signatures can persist for thousands of years. The ship is dead, Melza. It has been dead since the Battle of Karshan. Crever was not so sure. He had salvaged 17 human vessels over his career. Each one had felt hollow, emptied of whatever force had animated it during life. This ship felt different. The sensation was irrational, impossible to quantify, but 3 decades of void walking had taught him to trust his instincts. Maintain formation, he ordered. Melza, you breach first. Standard protocols. If anything seems wrong, we abort immediately. Understood, she replied, though her voice wavered. The 3 pods glided through the debris field like hunting creatures. Broken satellites tumbled past them. Fragments of destroyed fighters spiraled in slow, eternal arcs. The battleship dominated the scene, its hull scarred but intact. Crever could read the name stenciled across the bow in faded white letters. Indomitable. Dramatic name, Torin muttered. Humans always had a flair for the theatrical. The name was earned, Crever said quietly. He had read the historical records. The Indomitable had held the Karshan defensive line for 18 hours against a Velani armada. 17 enemy capital ships destroyed. 43 frigates disabled. The human vessel had taken catastrophic damage but refused to break. When ammunition ran low, it had rammed a dreadnought twice its size. Both ships vanished in the resulting explosion, or so the histories claimed. Yet here it was, intact. Melza reached the hull breach and activated her scanning beam. The opening is stable. Atmosphere has long since vented. Interior temperature is -43 degrees standard. I am detecting no movement, no thermal signatures, no active electronics. Proceed, Crever said. Melza guided her pod through the jagged tear in the hull. The other 2 pods followed, their running lights cutting through the absolute darkness within. The beams revealed twisted corridors, collapsed bulkheads, and frozen vapor hanging in the air like ghosts. Everything was coated in frost. Nothing moved. We are in, Melza confirmed. Proceeding to the main corridor junction. Crever checked his tactical display. According to the schematics Torin had recovered from the military archives, the bridge was 12 decks above their entry point. The reactor core was 5 decks below. Engineering would be their primary target. Human reactor technology might be primitive, but the rare earth elements in the core assembly were incredibly valuable. Torin, take your pod to the reactor level, Crever ordered. Melza and I will proceed to the bridge. Standard salvage priorities. We extract data cores first, then structural components, then raw materials. Acknowledged, Torin said. His pod peeled away, descending into the ship's lower decks. Crever followed Melza through the frozen corridors. Their running lights revealed scenes of destruction frozen in time. Blast marks scorched the walls. Hull plates had buckled from impact trauma. In one corridor, they passed a human corpse still strapped into a damage control station. The body was perfectly preserved by the cold, the face locked in an expression of grim determination. "They died fighting," Melza whispered. "They always did," Crever replied. "That was what made humans terrifying. They did not surrender. They did not retreat. They fought until their ships disintegrated around them, and sometimes they kept fighting even after that. The war had ended not because humanity was defeated, but because both sides were exhausted. The peace treaty was signed amid mutual recognition that another year of conflict would destroy both civilizations. The bridge doors loomed ahead, massive slabs of armored metal. They were sealed shut. "Can you open them?" Crever asked. Melza maneuvered her pod closer, extending a mechanical arm to interface with the door control panel. Her equipment hummed as it attempted to bypass the lock. Seconds stretched into minutes. "The system is more complex than expected," she said. "Human security protocols had multiple redundancies. I am having to crack through 7 different encryption layers. Take your time. We are in no rush." That was when Torin screamed. The sound ripped through the comm system, sharp and terrified. Crever's blood went cold. "Torin, report." Static answered him. Then Torin's voice returned, ragged with panic. "Something is happening. The reactor is active. Temperature readings are spiking. I am detecting power surges throughout the ship." "That is impossible," Melza said. "The ship has been dead for 300 years. Tell that to the reactor." Torin shouted. "It is coming online. All the systems are waking up. I am reading power flow to the weapons batteries, to the shield generators, to the propulsion systems. We need to leave. We need to leave right now." The lights came on. Not gradually, not flickering. The entire corridor blazed with illumination as overhead panels activated in sequence. Crever threw up an arm to shield his eyes from the sudden glare. Emergency klaxons began to wail, their ancient sound echoing through the dead ship. The temperature gauges on his pod showed the ambient temperature rising rapidly as life support systems roared to life. "Impossible," Melza breathed. "How can this be happening?" The bridge doors shuddered. Metal groaned as hydraulic systems engaged for the first time in centuries. The massive slabs of armor began to slide apart, revealing the command center beyond. And then a voice spoke. It was calm, female, absolutely human. The words were delivered in the old Earth language, but Crever's translation implant converted them instantly. "Unknown vessels detected within the hull. Identify yourselves immediately or face termination protocols." Crever's mind raced. This was impossible. Every scan had shown the ship was dead. But the evidence was undeniable. Somehow, impossibly, the Indomitable was awake. "This is a salvage operation," he transmitted, using the standard diplomatic frequency. "We detected this vessel as derelict. We meant no hostile intent. We will depart immediately." The voice did not respond to him. Instead, it continued as if reading from a prepared script. "Threat assessment in progress. Multiple unauthorized breaches detected. Hull integrity compromised. Crew status unknown. Initiating combat protocols." Throughout the ship, systems roared to life. Crever could hear the distant thunder of the main engines igniting. His tactical display lit up with warnings as sensor arrays activated and began scanning the surrounding space. Weapon turrets swiveled on their mounts, targeting systems coming online. "Torin," Crever shouted. "Get out of the reactor section." "I am trying." Torin's voice was barely audible over the screaming alarms. "The bulkheads are sealing. The emergency protocols are locking down the entire engineering deck." Melza was frantically trying to maneuver her pod away from the bridge, but the ship's internal defense systems had activated. Automated gun turrets dropped from the ceiling, their targeting lasers sweeping across her pod. "Warning," the voice announced. Unidentified vessels will be fired upon in 10 seconds. 9, 8. We are leaving, Crever shouted desperately. We are not hostile. We did not know the ship was active. 7, 6, 5. He made a decision. Crever opened a wideband emergency channel and transmitted in the ancient Earth language, pulling phrases from his translation database. Attention, human vessel. We are not enemies. The war is over. It has been over for 300 years. We are salvage operators, not combatants. The countdown stopped. Silence filled the comm channels. Even the alarms ceased their wailing. The sudden quiet was more terrifying than the chaos had been. Then the voice spoke again, but this time it sounded different. Less mechanical, more curious. Define your last statement. The war is over. Crever's hearts hammered in his chest. He spoke slowly, carefully. The Treaty of Ashmar was signed 287 years ago. Humanity and the Velani coalition agreed to peace terms. Both sides suffered catastrophic losses. Continued conflict would have resulted in mutual extinction. The war ended. We have been at peace for nearly 3 centuries. Another pause. Crever could almost feel the ship thinking, processing. Accessing historical database, the voice said. Multiple corrupted sectors detected. Unable to verify statement. Request additional information. Current stardate. Current sector designation. Status of human military command structure. Crever provided the information as quickly as possible, his translator working to convert the data into formats the ancient ship could understand. As he spoke, he watched his tactical display. The Indomitable's weapons had not powered down, but they were no longer targeting his team's pods. Information received, the voice said. Cross-referencing with available data. Probability analysis suggests statements are accurate. Threat level downgraded. The gun turrets retracted. The bulkheads that had sealed Torin in the reactor section hissed open. Throughout the ship, the howling engines began to throttle down. Who are you? Crever asked. Are you the ship's artificial intelligence? Negative. I am Captain Rhiannon Steele, commanding officer of the HMSF Indomitable. Or rather, I am a neural recording of Captain Steele. The original died during the Battle of Karshan when the bridge took a direct plasma strike. Before life support failed, I transferred my consciousness into the ship's core computer system. The crew activated emergency protocols that would preserve me in case the ship was ever recovered. Melza's voice was barely a whisper over the comm. You have been alone here for 300 years. Affirmative. Alone in the dark. Dreaming fragmentary dreams. Waiting. The ship's power systems were set to minimal conservation mode. Only catastrophic hull breaches would trigger a full awakening sequence. Your entry provided that trigger. Crever felt something twist in his chest. The human captain had given up her body, her life, everything, to remain with her ship. She had endured centuries of isolation rather than let her vessel become a ghost floating forever in the void. What will you do now? He asked quietly. The ship was silent for a long moment. When the captain spoke again, her voice carried a weight that 3 centuries of solitude had forged. My mission was to defend humanity, but if the war is truly over, then my mission is complete. I have been a warrior for so long I do not remember how to be anything else. Yet I think, perhaps, it is time to rest. You could be recovered, Crever said. Your neural pattern could be transferred to a new substrate. You could have a new life. I am not sure I want that, Captain Steele replied. I am a relic of a darker age. The galaxy has moved on without me. Perhaps that is for the best. But before I shut down, I would like to know one thing. Did we win? The war, Crever said. No one won. Both sides lost too much. But humanity survived. Your species thrives among the stars. The colonies you fought to protect still exist. Your sacrifice was not meaningless. Then I am content. The ship's lights began to dim. Systems powered down in sequence, their tasks complete. The great battleship was returning to its slumber, but this time by choice. I will set the reactor to overload in 72 hours, Captain Steele said. That gives you time to salvage what you need and depart safely. When the reactor goes critical, the Indomitable will be destroyed. I do not wish to be found again. This rest will be permanent. Wait, Melza said urgently. You do not have to do this. We could bring you back. You could see what the galaxy has become. I am a weapon, the captain said gently. Weapons should not outlive their wars. Take what materials you need from my ship. Use them to build something better than what we made. That will be memorial enough. Crever wanted to argue, but he understood. He had seen enough ghosts in his time as a salvager. Some spirits needed to be laid to rest. We will tell your story, he promised. Humanity will know you remained faithful to the end. Thank you. That is more than I expected. Now go. 72 hours is not much time. The 3 salvage pods retreated through the corridors, past the frozen corpses and blast-scarred walls, back to the hull breach and the empty void beyond. Behind them, the lights dimmed. The great ship settled back into darkness, but it was a different darkness now. Not the darkness of abandonment, but the darkness of peace. 3 days later, from a safe distance, they watched the Indomitable's reactor go critical. The explosion was brilliant, a miniature star burning for one perfect moment before fading to nothing. Where the battleship had been, only expanding debris remained. Crever filed his report to the Salvage Guild, marking the location as fully claimed and processed. But he did not mention the awakening. He did not mention the captain who had waited centuries for a war that was already over. That was a story he would carry in his own memories, a reminder that honor and duty were not concepts limited to any one species. She deserved better, Melza said softly as their ship turned away from the debris field. She got what she wanted, Crever replied. She got to rest. In the void, the fragments of the Indomitable drifted apart, each piece carrying the memory of a ship that refused to surrender even to time itself. And if sometimes the sensors detected strange energy signatures in that region of space, echoes of something that should not be there, the salvagers who worked those coordinates learned to ignore them. Some ghosts earned the right to haunt the places they had fought. Some sacrifices transcended the conflicts that birthed them. And some warriors, even in death, remained undefeated. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe for more. Thank you.